Hello, and welcome to the Wyoming CSTA Live December member meeting. I'm Abby Hurley, Wyoming CSTA Vice President. Today, we have two special guests joining us to speak about how AI can be used to accelerate education. To those of you who are attending live, please feel free to share any questions you guys have during the presentations in the chat. First up, we have Samantha Worden, who is currently working on her educational doctorate in learning, design, and technology through the University of Wyoming. She teaches history in Rock Springs, and today she is going to speak about the ways AI is transforming the classroom. So welcome, Samantha. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am excited about it. So let me go ahead, and I do actually have a Prezi presentation to share with all of you about AI in the classroom and enhancing learning and some cheating prevention, because we know that is sort of the elephant in the room when it comes to AI and what are those next steps for us as educators. Okay. So quick introduction, what actually is AI? What do we consider AI? So AI is going to refer to computer systems that are capable of performing tasks that typically in the past have required human intelligence, understanding language, recognizing patterns, making decisions. In in education, AI can assist teachers in providing tailored learning experiences for students based on individual needs. So there's a lot that it can really do to help alleviate some of those burdens we're feeling as educators. As many of us know, we're in a teacher shortage. There's a lot of stressors going into education right now, and AI really can be a solution to help alleviate some of those items. So the evolution of AI in the classroom, AI's presence in education has significantly evolved over the past decade, transforming from simple automation tools to sophisticated systems that enhance classroom learning. Presently, AI technologies such as adaptive learning platforms and virtual assistants are becoming integral to teaching methods. So we're definitely seeing AI on the rise. The mentality of it's going to go away, it's not something that my students or I are going to use, isn't acceptable anymore, because it's here and it's definitely expanding every day. So we need to be able to use it as a tool and a resource. Now, the importance of AI in modern teaching. AI is crucial in modern teaching as it fosters personalized education, addresses diverse learning styles, and manages administrative tasks, allowing educators to focus on student engagement. Embracing AI technology can lead to improved learning outcomes and enhanced educational equity, which is a big thing that as educators, most of us worry about. Are all of my students getting the same opportunities to learn? And how do I meet those learners on their levels? You're going to always have those learners that are farther ahead and further behind. And AI can really be used to modify lessons to make sure you're touching on both of those styles of learning and nobody is getting left behind or not being able to be pushed. So some of the benefits of AI integration. One is personalized learning experiences. AI systems can analyze individual student data to create customized learning pathways, allowing students to learn at their own pace. With personalized content, students receive tailored exercises that directly address their strengths and weaknesses, enhancing overall comprehension. And we're seeing this more and more with different programs coming out. One that's currently being used in a lot of schools is called Edmentum, in which they do a quick test at the beginning, and it creates individualized pathways for students to go to that next step based off of where they're at. We actually use this in Rock Springs. This is something I work with my students with every day in math. And I have students that are at a 4th grade level and at a 9th grade level, as well as 12. And this creates individualized pathways for each one of them to go ahead and up their level and up their learning from where they're at without having to hold back with everybody. It's also able to enhance engagement and motivation. So AI can create interactive and adaptive learning environments that increase student engagement. For instance, gamified learning experiences powered by AI adapt to student inputs, making learning more enjoyable and stimulating for them. Now, I will show my hand. My doctoral degree is actually in gamification. So I am a doctoral candidate. I'm currently just working on the dissertation portion of my degree, and I specialize in gamification in the classroom. And AI can really provide some beautiful tools to help with gamifying a classroom and helping to encourage students' engagement using those different resources. Something as simple as ChatGPT, which can create those different pathways for students in their next steps, is huge in helping to provide that individualized learning experience, which in turn increases engagement for the learner in the classroom. Reduced work for teachers. And this is a huge piece of this. AI can reduce teachers' workloads by automating tasks like grading, lesson planning, and administrative work. It can quickly grade assignments, provide instant feedback, and help create lesson plans by suggesting resources. AI also tracks student progress, identifies learning gaps, and can provide tailored interventions, allowing teachers to focus more on personalized instruction and student engagement. I know a lot of schools have moved to digital plan books. My school is one of those. And if you have a school that has a very specific formatting for how they want this put in, that can take quite a chunk of time. Using AI to create these lesson plans and putting them in there, you've reduced your workload tremendously on that. Also, the automatic rating components of AI, where it can go through and easily find those key details in a writing segment to see if students did discuss what actually needed to be, can help alleviate some of the burden of hours of grading if you have a large workload of students. So there's a lot of different ways that AI can provide aid to teachers themselves on that back end for the administrative portion. Supporting diverse learning needs. AI tools can accommodate various learning styles and abilities, offering resources that cater to visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. This adaptability ensures that all students have access to the supports that they need to succeed academically, bringing in that equity piece again, making sure we're meeting our learners where they're at and helping to provide for their education. And AI can do that really well by going ahead. If you have students at different lexiles, you can put in articles into different programs. Again, ChatGPT is a really great one. It's a free resource any teacher can use. And you can input an article and you can say, bring this to a lower lexile, and it can bring it down a step if that's what's needed. Or if you have some students that you really want to push, you can always put in, bring it to a higher lexile. Now you have the same article, but you have three different types to go ahead and hand out. Using Kagan strategies, you group them together and you have them then compare it. They're all getting the same information, but at different levels. And then it creates a conversation piece with your students to where they can see those synonyms. They can see what is similar. How did we up the language being used? Again, it's helping to support those different needs. Now, combating cheating with AI, because that's one of the biggest fears when it comes to AI. One of the big things, AI detection tools for plagiarism. A lot of AI programs are actually coming out that are creating programs that are driven by AI to detect and analyze these documents for similarities against different databases. They assist educators in identifying unoriginal content efficiently and promoting originality in student works. So you can use AI to actually detect plagiarism, as well as being able to determine if AI has been used within the programs. So this helps prevent cheating and making it more of a resource. Ensuring academic integrity. In-class monitoring. Okay. For online assessments, use tools that monitor student screens, webcams, and activity during exams to ensure they're not using these external AI tools. Building ethical awareness among students. And this is where it comes in that we can't ignore it. It's not a piece that's going away, but instead, how do we teach our students to use this intelligently and as a tool rather than a crutch? I always like to compare AI to calculators. I remember being in high school and being told, you won't always have a calculator. You need to learn how to do this by hand. I've had a smartphone since 2010. I've always got a calculator on me, but I know it's a tool. If it's simple math, no, try to do it in my head very quickly because it's going to take longer to pull the phone out and use it. but it's really great for when I'm at the gas tank trying to figure out what my mileage was as I'm fueling up. It's a tool that can be used. So integrating AI education in education emphasizes the importance of ethics in technology use. Discussing the implications of AI, students can better understand their responsibilities as digital citizens. I know that's a huge piece when we're talking about computer science, is that digital citizenship. How does AI fit into that? How does it fit into that conversation? And the environment you create with your students will help build and foster that as a tool rather than something they use to cheat. Adaptive assessments to measure understanding. AI can create adaptive assessments that adjust difficulty based on individual performance. This provides a more accurate picture of student understanding and minimizes opportunities for teaching. You can use AI to push them, checking to see and make sure that they're where they need to be and pushing them to that next step. If you have a student that when you ask them, hey, can you explain this piece in your essay, and they can't, now we understand there's either plagiarism or possibly AI being used. But it also creates a conversation. Instead of shutting it down, you now have an opportunity to use this as a conversation. Why did you feel the need to do this? Did you not understand the content? Did something happen at home? And it provides more open dialogue with the students on why they feel the need to cheat, as well as, was it simply they were trying to take the easy way out because they got overwhelmed with swim practice that week? Now you can use what they wrote. Not a problem. You used AI on this. I need your own words. But can you analyze this for me? Can you go through and tell me what these different vocab words that you didn't know, but maybe upped the level of that writing? Now there's an opportunity for them to fix a mistake, which helps build relationships, a key piece of being a teacher, as well as providing them the opportunity to maybe learn some new vocab. And also, it gives them a little extra work to avoid wanting to do it in the future. Now, some practical examples of AI tools. ELL students or English language learners. AI can be a really powerful tool for our English language learners by providing personalized language practice and real-time feedback for them. AI-powered apps and platforms can help students improve their vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, and reading comprehension through interactive exercises. We've all seen the Duolingo ads, or heard them. Duolingo is a great tool that actually is implementing AI for, again, creating those pathways as people are using it. But for our ELL learners, this could be a huge resource just in learning. If you have someone who maybe has never really taken an English course and is starting at the basics, but they're in high school, this can provide them an opportunity to get more caught up on an individualistic basis. Speech recognition technology can also assist ELLs in improving their speaking skills by offering corrections and suggestions. So many times, individuals that are using two different languages get confused. I went over to Paris a few winters ago. It's really hard to switch between two languages and words get jumbled. Having an AI tool in a writing comprehension or in a writing resource provides them the opportunity to be able to type it in and see, oh, maybe this isn't the right word, and being able to fix those in real time, as well as potentially learning some new vocabulary. Additionally, AI can adapt lessons to each student's level, providing targeted practice that helps accelerate language acquisition and build confidence in communication. It's all about building them. AI is a great tool to help build them where they're at and get them to that next level. Learning platforms. AI-powered learning platforms such as Khan Academy tailor educational content according to students' ability. By using data analytics, these platforms provide customized learning pathways and identify areas where learners need additional practice. Having these platforms is a huge piece that is really great to implement because it creates those individual pathways while also making sure to help get them to the levels that they need to be. Chatbots for student support. I am a huge proponent of using these. Chatbots serve as a 24/7 student support systems, answering queries and providing guidance on coursework. They help alleviate administrative burdens while ensuring students receive instant help, increasing engagement and satisfaction. It is a great resource to have students using ChatGPT because if they don't understand something, they can type it in and get a quick response. And if they're still not getting it, then they can say that, I'm not understanding still. Can you explain this in a different way? And rather than you having to spend 20 minutes re-explaining the directions, they now have that instant answer. A lot of times with my freshmen, I will hear, oh, I get it now. Oh, I see, because it can explain it in a different way. And chatbots will actually go through and individualize the responses based off of the queries being put in by the person. So then you end up at the lexile and levels of your students, the more they use it to help make their understanding better. Also, it's available 24/7. No teacher should be. We should be enjoying our time off. There's a reason we have it. So this is a great when they're up at 3 a.m. working on the essay and they don't understand what does Miss Worden mean by historical context. They can type that into a chatbot and go, what is historical context? And it can give them the answer right then without them having their minor meltdown while they wait for my response in the email. It gives them that automatic response that they're looking for. It can help guide them a lot better. Grammatical resources. Grammarly. If you've ever watched a YouTube video, you have heard the Grammarly ads. So tools like grammar checkers can help identify errors in spelling, punctuation, sentence structures, and style. These AI tools not only catch mistakes, but also explain why something is incorrect, helping students learn from their errors. By offering personalized feedback, AI can support students in improving their writing skills and boosting their confidence in producing grammatically accurate work. This is a huge piece. Writing is something they are going to do for the rest of their lives, whether they go collegiate or into the workforce. We write. Even on Facebook, we now see AI popping up to make something more heartfelt, make it more funny. Can you fix my punctuation? These tools are really great to introduce into the classroom because students can now see those mistakes. Commas can be difficult, even for the best of students. Having something that goes ahead and automatically puts it in or says, oh, you have a list, you need commas here. It explains it while also providing guidance and insight for students to be able to use that the next time they write. Now, we've had Microsoft Word for years now. I grew up using it from the time I was in about middle school on. So not trying to date myself, but definitely over the 14-year mark there. We already have that as a resource in that when it's showing up the punctuation, when it shows capitalization mistakes and words being misspelled. Using resources like Grammarly is just the next step of that. So now we have a system that corrects the grammar, corrects the punctuation, the spelling, but then it also gives suggestions about the sentence doesn't quite sound right. Maybe we should try rephrasing. This gets students thinking. How can I rephrase this? How can I reword this? Why would we reword this? And this provides them that ability to go ahead and touch on a next level of writing, getting them more prepared for the next step, again, the workforce or a collegiate setting. Language learning apps with AI features. Language learning apps like Duolingo leverage AI to create customized lessons based on user behavior and proficiency. AI adjusts difficulty and provides instant feedback, facilitating better language acquisition and retention. 10 minutes of Duolingo. 1, kids think it's a blast. They love the little bird. 2, you can now have your English speaking students, focusing on whatever language they choose that has everything from German to Japanese, letting them play it. It's a game, so my gamification heart really supports it. While you also have your ELL students being able to work on English, helping them get to that next step as well. It's equitable. We're seeing it done through fun for those that maybe it isn't as serious for them, while being able to provide an opportunity for those that could really use it as a resource. Again, it creates those individualized pathways. Add a gamification method to it. You have a leaderboard of who can get to the next step. You now have students competing with one another to try and get higher on their pathways, thus increasing their ability with those languages. So those are just some tips and tricks and viewpoints on how we can integrate and enhance learning with AI in the classroom, as well as how can we maybe prevent the inevitable cheating that can come with it. Now open to any or any questions or comments.
We did have one comment in the chat from Randy saying that he was in college when they first allowed the use of a calculator instead of a slide rule. Uh, and he had made a comment that he's that old, but I think that brings up the perfect explanation as to like, technology is always going to be changing. And you're right. I remember the same thing about my math teacher saying, you're not always going to have a calculator with you. And first of all, I don't use trig in my everyday life, but I do have a calculator with me whenever I need it. So technology is going to continue to change, and working more instead on, how do we use this? How do we teach kids? I loved how you brought in digital citizenship, because that's exactly it. We have to teach all these kids how to use all the different tools, whether it's social media or ChatGPT, how to use them responsibly.
And
Uh,
I teach freshmen, and I have watched freshmen spend 40 minutes trying to get around doing the assignment. If they want to cheat, they're going to cheat. It's teaching them to use it as a resource, and when they get caught, the accountability piece.
Yep, we all have to learn that lesson, right? A couple more questions in the chat here. Krista asked if the Edmentum is a paid service.
I believe it is. My district chose it not only for our summer school program, but for our we have, it's called a power hour. It's kind of like a quick hour study hall, and students have to spend time on it. I do think they have there's some companies that offer it like a free service with it, but I do believe that one is paid.
Awesome, thank you. And then I have another question. For teachers just dipping their toes into AI comfortably, what other AI programs do you recommend? For example, he said Magic School or any other ones?
That's a good one. I am a sucker for ChatGPT. It's so basic and so user friendly. Like I said, it modifies with you as you go. It's a really great tool just for real quick. Um, Throw it in there and I need this, this, and this. Oh, that's not quite it. Modify here, here, and here. Um, so that's my personal favorite. That is my go-to with it. But there is some other programs. There is one that I'm completely blanking, but it will design beautiful lesson plans for teachers. I've actually done it on the kind of on a whim when Teachers Pay Teachers didn't have quite what I wanted. And it's made better lessons than what I've paid for in the past or what I've been able to come up with at times. I will definitely look that up and I can send it to be sent out as well. Um, a really great one too is Prezi. The presentation service I just did, I will completely own. That was AI generated. I wanted to prove a point with the presentation on the quality that it can create. I think it did pretty good. Now, you always want to go in and check it because AI is not foolproof, just like we're not foolproof. It will make mistakes and there will be hiccups in it, but it creates a good resource. Prezi can be used with students for if you've got a kiddo that just can't figure out how to do a presentation. Alleviate this. This takes that stress of creating the presentation off of them and focusing on the presentation itself, letting them be a better presenter. This is a really great program also you can use with after school activities, speech and debate clubs, because it gets them in the habit of presenting off the cuff. How do I speak with something quickly? But those are kind of my two biggest that I always suggest. Canva actually also is now using AI for creating presentations as well as media pieces. That's a really good one that you could introduce in and get used to using it. I did a lesson last year that I took when I did a luncheon with the legislature for UW, where my students had to analyze the amendments of the Constitution through AI. So they had to put it into the photo creator in Canva and then analyze the picture it produced. And they had to tell me, one, is this a good picture? Two, does it represent the amendment? And it created something. One, they thought it was fun because they were using AI. They were getting away with something, they felt. Two, it started creating that digital citizenship piece where, is this a good picture? Why is there a bear holding a firearm? That's not what it means by bear arms. And so it creates that conversation where they then have that kind of higher level learning with it as well. But those are some of the programs I would suggest.
Awesome. Thank you. And there's a few more in the chat. If make sure you guys are all looking in there, and I will share them when we share this as well. One more question here. How would you approach teachers who are opposed to using AI?
Don't fight them. If they are emotionally attached in their belief, you're never going to change their mind. It's just like talking conspiracy theories or politics. You will not change someone's opinion with force. You have to bring evidence, and even then, they may never. I always view it as an open conversation. Why are you hesitant in this? Why are you unsure about using this? Do you think it's going to go away? Making it more conversational is the biggest piece of it, and also understanding you're not there to change their mind. I like to approach it as, here's what I'm doing with it. I like to do this because it's alleviating the stress off of me. The students found it fun, whatever reason that connects with you, and presenting it to them in that fashion rather than trying to change someone's opinion, because at the end of the day, you're probably not to, but maybe you plant a seed for them to think about later.
Awesome. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Can our
Thank you for having me.
listeners reach out to you with any follow-up questions they have? And if so, what would be the best way?
Absolutely. Email is the easiest way. I'm a phone junkie. I'm definitely all about technology. So I'm always have it on me. So my email can always be reached, and I'm always willing to provide feedback or help with it.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll share that when we send out the recording to you guys. Okay, our next guest is Dr. Ling Zhang. She's an assistant professor of special education at the University of Wyoming. And she recently had her manuscript, Let's Chat About Artificial Intelligence for Students with Disabilities, published in the Review of Educational Research. She has been working on AI-powered agent systems for general and special education teachers. So let's welcome Dr. Zhang.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So I'm very happy and to share my research and the practices of using AI in education in general, but more specifically in special education, because that's my background. So I'm going to share my screen and we can talk more. Can you see my screen? Well, okay, good. Okay, so I hope we can turn this into a conversation. I do have a lot to talk about, but feel free if you have any questions. So just feel free to jump on asking any question or clarification question. So again, Abby, thank you for introducing me. So my name is Ling Zhang, assistant professor in special education. So this is my first year. So my first semester here at UW, and the first first year being in Wyoming, so it's very exciting. It's very different from where I used to live. So and so a little bit about my background. So research background. So my focus is on designing, implementing, and evaluating technology enhanced personalized learning based on equity and inclusion for all learners, especially focused on students with disabilities. So I think, thank you, Samantha, for defining AI and highlighting the potential of AI, especially the AI can personalize learning, individualize learning for students, right? So I think this is a very nice follow-up on the conversation. So more specifically, my research is centered around 3 lines. So the first one is how to leverage those emerging technology, including artificial intelligence, to support students and a teacher So that's the first one. But the second one is how can we leverage all those technology, right? Emerging technology and support educators in enhancing their capacity to support students with diverse learning needs in their classroom. So that's second line. And my third line is more specifically focused on learner skills or learner agency. So as Samantha mentioned, we're focused more on learner side, right? So in this AI infused world, how can we support our learners, including students with disabilities, in navigating this complex or evolving technology world? So that's my third line. So, but today, I think what I'd like to talk about is around this multi-agent system for IEP development. So for you who may or may not know IEP, I will introduce IEP a little bit later. This stands for Individualized Education Program for students with disabilities. So we, as a team, so we say this, there were lots of like team members on this team who worked on creating the prototype of this multi-agent system for IEP development. So we can have more conversation around this specific AI-driven multi-agent system, is that specifically large language model-based multi-agent system for IEP development. So when we started working on this project, so our team had, because all the members on this team work in special education for many years. So I think one thing or one challenge we have been thinking about is how can we support educators in developing individualized education programs, which is a legally binding document for students with disabilities. And we may all know, right? So IEP is so complex because it requires so many components to be able to support the unique needs of students with disability. So it's so complex and it will take lots of time to develop a high quality IEP document for specific students. So because of this complexity, so it requires excessive workload related to developing IEP and implementing IEP, which unfortunately is a major contributor to special education teacher burnout. So that's a ongoing challenge in special education, because if teacher feels burnout, so it's likely they will leave the field, right? So that's the huge problem challenge in education and specifically in special education. So we've been thinking about, okay, so we have this ongoing issue, and now we are talking about the potential of AI. So how AI can be leveraged to support educators, especially special education teacher, because this also place financial burdens on school districts if we work in the school district, right? So we know that replace one teacher if this teacher leave the field. So that will cost about 14,000 to 20,000 per teacher to hire teacher, train teacher, things like that. So it's very costly to address this teacher shortage. So we've been thinking about all those challenges that have been going on for a long time in special education, and now we have a great AI tool. How can we leverage the latest breakthrough of AI? So one way we've been thinking about and talking about, now we have AI agent. So here, AI agent, what I mean by AI agent is a large language model based advanced system that can process information, can reason, can take action to achieve a certain goal. So that's, we have human agent, right? But here in the AI context, we have AI agent. So currently, there are many systems that are single agent systems, such as ChatGPT and many commonly used tools that Samantha mentioned a little bit earlier, right? So those systems already demonstrated powerful language processing capacity, data analysis capacity, etc. But when we think about, so for those large language models, we still see some challenges existing in those tools, right? Especially hallucination. We know ChatGPT sometimes can create those inaccurate information, right? So we call this hallucination. So that's one thing our team has been thinking about, how can we address that part by leveraging multi-agent system. So here, multi-agent system is to leverage multiple single agent, AI agent to collaborate with each other to generate or to perform the subtask of a complex task to achieve this common goal. So IEP is a perfect example for a complex task, because as I mentioned before, implementing IEP is so complex, requires lots of components. So that's when we started thinking about, given a complex task of creating IEP, what can we do by leveraging a team of AI agents to support the IEP team? And we also know the IEP team consists of general education teachers, special education teacher, parents, and sometimes students themselves, and other school representatives, right? So what if we have an agent team and IEP team can collaborate with each other? So that can be a very powerful system to streamline the whole process of creating and implementing IEP. So that's the problems we're trying to address, and the one potential solution we have been working on. We're not going to say this is the only solution to support educator in creating IEP, but this can be one powerful way. So after we have this problem and potential solutions, we started prototyping this system. So this is the sort of conceptualization of the agent workflow, as you can tell. So if educators as end user of this multi-agent system, we call it a co-IEP. So this end user started interact with the case manager, this agent. So we assign this agent as case manager to represent the real life case manager of the IEP team, right? So end user interact with the case manager agent, and then the case manager agent can assign the specific task to specific agent, as I mentioned before. So the agent team can break down the complex task into subtasks. So in that way, so they can generate more accurate information, and in a way to address the problem of hallucination. Why? So here's a few reasons. I will talk a little bit more. But if this case manager assign the task first to the first agent, which we call PLAP writer. So PLAP stands for, it's a long name. So no wonder IEP is so complex, because we have lots of acronyms. So the first one is the accurate present level of academic achievement and function performance. So for the IEP team to create IEP document, we need to identify learner characteristics, right? So all different information combined together to create this PLAP statement. So when the end user interact with the whole system, so the first agent, and we call this agent team because not only the PLAP writer will write this PLAP statement based on the information educator enter into the system, or sometimes they can create the exemplary PLAP statement. So it depends on the system, depends on how you interact with the system. And then, so after the PLAP writer creates the PLAP statement, another agent, we design another agent evaluator, PLAP evaluator, to evaluate the quality of the statement, because accuracy is what we care about, right? IEP is a high-stake document for students. If we don't have accurate information, high quality information, so that will impact student learning experiences. So we wanted to ensure we have evaluator to evaluate each component. So that's the first component PLAP writer. So after the PLAP writer and evaluator team finish the task, so task will be passed down to the next team, which is goal creator and the evaluator. And so in the real life situation, IEP team will create annual IEP goals based on PLAP statement. So in this system, so the workflow follows by creating IEP goals. And also we have a creator and an evaluator to evaluate created goal. So after this team finish the work, so the task will be passed on to another team we call ISS generators and IS evaluator, which we divide them into special design instruction and a supplementary aids and a support. So all those components are very important for students to receive tailored instruction or learning experiences in the learning environment. So we have these 3 sub-teams to collaborate with each other to create these IEP different components. So that's the agent team, right? And we talk about how can we leverage agent team and IEP team. So that's another very important factor for us as a team to think about how can we engage educators throughout the process to ensure the accuracy of the information generated by the system. So that's why we have this human feedback throughout the whole system. So for example, when the educator when the case manager assign the task to the first team, so the first team create the PLAP statement, the whole system will stop and ask a question of the educators. If there is anything the educator wants to improve the created PLAP statement. So that's the stop point for the educator to interact with the system. And we call it keep human in the loop, right? So for this system, that's how we keep educators in the loop because it's a high stake. We can let the information be not accurate and not comprehensive, right? So that's why we have these 3 stop points for educators to evaluate. Not only we have evaluator for PLAP statement, IEP goal, and SDI says suggestion, we have human evaluators as well. So in real life situation, so the educator can bring the generated IEP components to the IEP team, and then the IEP team will discuss those content to make sure those content is tailored to the unique learning needs of students. So that's a little bit conceptual framework for our system, right? And we
All right.
okay, let me stop a little bit. And we based on the workflow we created for the agent team, and we create the prototype of a co-IEP. So I think this is a 3 minutes demo, so we can I can share, and if you have any questions, we can just address those questions later.
Look at how co-IEP prototype works. Let me open up the chat window, and if I want the IEP team to create exemplary IEP for a student, and as we can tell, the case manager is grading us and is assigning the task to the PLAP writer, assume PLAP writer and evaluator, because of the complexity of the system, so it can take some time. But now the PLAP writer finished writing the statement, which covers 3 very important components of the statement. And there we go. So the evaluator, PLAP evaluator also evaluated the statement, right? So now the output, we have statement, we have evaluation report. So evaluation report was created based on the rubric we created for the system. But now, for the sake of the time, we don't want to improve the statement. So let's go ahead, create IEP goals. But in real life, we do want to double check the statement to ensure the accuracy and the comprehensiveness. But here, the case manager is assigning a task to the IEP goal team, which I assume the creator is working right now. There we go. I think it's a nice output for today. But we have 3 IEP goals, and we prompt the agent to follow specific structure we want the agent to follow. So we have so here, as we can see, student need, and we need to identify the standard, which is of course a Wyoming standard here. And we need the agent to describe the gaps and follow the IEP smart IEP goal and describe progress monitoring or measurement information tools, and also consider student strength and things like that. So another thing I want to show here is the tools that this agent can use. So that's the Wyoming standard, which we mentioned before. So the agent need to use the standard to create the IEP goal. Okay, so moving forward, we want the agent team to create SDI and assess based on the goals and the statement. So case manager, one more time, is assigning this specific task to another team. So now I'm assuming SDI and assess generators are working right now, creating SDI and assess suggestion, which stand for, oh, there we go. We don't have time for that. So here, so we can say we have 1, 2, 3 suggestion focused on special design instruction. And again, so the agent was able to use the tool, which was the local database that we created that incorporate evidence-based practices documents we gather from reliable resources. So those agents were able to use the local database to create those suggestions. So basically, that's how, and the evaluator, of course, uses the rubric we created to evaluate the quality of those suggestions, right? So basically, this is how the agent team works, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.
Okay, so that's a quick demo, and I realized I forgot to mention the tool usage because I think in the demo I talk about, so the agent team, I think 3 sub-agent team use the tools, right? So that's the part we want to make sure the information created by those team are accurate. So that's what we did for the prototype. So we assign specific tool to goal generator. So this is the first tool we are still thinking about, we're still developing. So currently it's not in the system, but for the second, the third tool. So for the second tool, as you see in the demo, so the goal generator was able to retrieve Wyoming standards because we created a local database, including all Wyoming content standards into the database. So we assign this specific tool to the goal creator. So when the goal creator works on the task, right? So the goal creator was able to go to the database. So that's the second tool. And the third tool is very important as well, because for this team, their task is to generate instructional suggestions for this specific student, which needs to be individualized to the student, right? So we don't want any like random practices from the whole internet. That's what we know, right? Some of those systems just use the whole internet. So we don't know the accuracy and the quality of those information. So that's another tool we assign to this agent team, which is the local data, several local databases we created by including evidence-based practices in mathematics, literacy, social emotional learning, behavior, all those domains from the authorized website. So we created the local database. So in that case, those agents was able to go to the local database that we created, we assigned to them to retrieve high quality information and to create those suggestions. So that's the tool that I was talking about during the demo. So I figured this is very important information. So I need to clarify this part. So yeah, so that's basically, okay, let's jump to the next part. So that's basically the how the prototype works. And of course, since it's a prototype, and my fundamental goal is to develop fully functional co-IEP system so that all special education teachers in Wyoming and beyond Wyoming, any other states, because can use. Because IEP development follows a similar structure as required by the federal law. So another advantage of using multi-agent system is the flexibility, which means you can adjust or adapt certain part of the system to meet specific needs of school district or state. Like we use the Wyoming standards in this prototype, but we can easily tweak that part. For example, if my colleague in Texas, and we can tweak that part and create the Texas content database. So that's the flexibility that we can leverage for those multi-agent systems. So that's the future plan. And as I mentioned, the fully functional co-IEP system that can really benefit all special education teacher to streamline the complex process of IEP development and implementation. So currently we are thinking about 3 parts or 3 pilot studies that we could, the data from which can inform the further development of a fully functional system. So the first one is how can we make sure the content generated by co-IEP meet the state level or federal level IDEA requirements, because that's very important, right? Because we all know the IEP is legally binding documents, which means we need to meet those legal requirements. So that's one part. We would like to work with like special education directors or attorney with expertise in IEP development to make sure the content or the structure created by the system meets those required. So that's the first part. And the second part, of course, is to collaborate with the potential user, which include in-service and pre-service teacher in special education or outside special education, because sometimes general education teachers are also on the IEP team. So I think it's also beneficial for them to leverage the tool to say what those students' needs are and goals can support their needs and the specific instruction that they can incorporate in their classroom. So that's another part. So we are planning to collaborate with either both in-service and pre-service teacher to test the functionality of the prototype. And based on their feedback on the system, we can improve their functionality. So like different interface or different tools that the agent can further leverage to make sure that the whole interaction experiences with the co-IEP can meet all educators' professional learning needs. So that's what we are thinking about right now, the 3 lines to make sure that the fully functional system can really be very beneficial. But we also know it's a long process to develop a fully functional system, and we are actually very actively seeking like internal and external funds to help us build this system. So yeah, so that's the co-IEP prototype. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And I do have, but this system is more like the proof of concept currently, because my research is focused on personalized learning. And so for personalized learning is more complex, because how can we address different learning needs of all students in the general education setting, right? So compared to IEP for one single student with disability, so personalized learning is more complex, which means requires probably more agents and more tools and more everything, right? So currently I follow the similar structure, created a proof of concept to create this personalized learning multi-agent system, but I haven't developed the prototype yet. but also reaching out to the experts in the field to give me feedback. So hopefully I will have the opportunity to develop a similar, the prototype similar as co-IEP. So I'm not going to spend more time on this. And so I think if you have any questions, just let me know. And you can just email me, or this is my phone number. And if you're interested in using co-IEP or testing it out, also just let me know. And there's a short survey for the project if you want to know more. I think, yeah, so that's it.
Thank you, Ling. Wow, I know so many special education teachers that you're right. The IEP takes up so much of their hours of the day that it just impacts then the time that they get to spend with actual students and working. So I think this is awesome. And I definitely think I could refer a few special education teachers that would be like, yes, I will try this out for you and give you feedback, because
Yeah,
my
that'd
sister,
be awesome.
yeah, my sister is actually a speech pathologist in
Yep.
for the state of Wyoming in the preschools, and same thing, you know, every time I talk to her, I feel like she's like, yep, just doing my paperwork, you know. She loves the kids, but doing the paperwork behind the scenes. So I think this is a great use of AI to really impact some of those tedious pieces, and to think about, I mean, the resources too that it's able to pull from versus, you know,
Yeah.
just an educator thinking, what have I used in the past, or what have I learned in my pre-service teaching, or, you know, what does my team think? Just really pulling from those resources as well as using, you know, the personal resources. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
any
Thank
question
you.
for Ling? Yeah. I think when you have that personalized learning platform up, you let us know if you need people to try it. We will send it out to all of our members, because I think that's going to be awesome as well. And I like, obviously, like the tools of ChatGPT and all the AI tools are great, but to have something like this where it's pulling for teachers to pull from resources that we have, you know, already checked on, we know that these are quality, research based, and all the things like that is amazing for teachers to have that.
Yeah, so I think that's why our research team have been thinking about. So if we were to create this prototype for personalized learning plans, right? So what factor we need to think about? But I think one of the most important factor for us to think about is how can we make sure the accuracy of those information. So that's why the tool usage for the multi-agent system compared to single agent system is a really beneficial factor or benefit that we can leverage because we can control the quality literally.
Yes. And to use our Wyoming standards and be able to change those as they update, to be able to put new ones in and things like that will be invaluable.
Yeah.
Okay, any follow-up questions for Ling? Well, Ling, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing as well as your contact information, so that we, as we all process this this evening, these upcoming weeks, I'm sure we'll reach out with more questions.
Sure. Yeah, just let me know. Yeah.
Thank you. A quick reminder for all of our listeners to go to visit our Wyoming CSTA website for all CS updates. Find us on YouTube and Spotify to find this podcast webinar, as well as any of our previous ones. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to know what we're up to and to get more resources.